Okay, so Simon, this week you did a webinar for YPN called The 5-Step Guide to Buying at Auction. So why buy at auction?
So for me, I love the auction. Very passionate about it. I like the fact that you get to see like the whole catalogue. You get to see it warts and all. You get to, if there's a problem, they're generally highlighting the problem, and it's down to you to do your due diligence to see if you can fix that problem, or more importantly, to see the cost, what the cost is of fixing that problem. So often, if there's something like a structural fault with a property, for example, you quite often get a structural survey in the legal pack. If a property's got Japanese knotweed, you know, they're highlighting it in the catalogue and telling you this has got Japanese knotweed. I don't know. I've got a passion for getting you know, rolling my sleeves up in dirty properties and turning them into a nice product.
It's really interesting the point you make there. Is I think a lot of people's impression of the auction is that every property has an issue, but they're almost trying to conceal those things from you. So it's like, if you can't see what the problem is, then it's somebody cleverer than you has realized that there's this terrible thing, and it scares a lot of people off. But the impression I got from you, and the more we've worked together talking about it, is that particularly the auction house that you work closely with, that they're trying their best to get every single piece of information to you, and that isn't the sort of vibe that most people have from it.
Yeah, so it's like one of the big auction myths, isn't it? Is that you could buy a lemon and it's got issues that you're not aware of. You know, if there's a lease issue, it's in the print. It's one of the first things that they mention. You know, it's got a 75-year lease. You might want to buy this and extend the lease, or look to extend the lease. So yeah, it's warts and all. You know, you get in there, you do your due diligence, you cost up your refurb, and then it's down to you. It's down to you to be successful on the day. I like the auction because, you know, in Leeds, we've got the auction cycle is either on a 6 or 7 week cycle, and then in that auction cycle, we've got Auction House West Yorkshire, we've got Pew, we've got Sequence, we've got the I Am Sold team that do theirs in Wakefield. So we've almost got an auction a week, maybe every 1.5 weeks. And Auction House West Yorkshire, who I work closely with, you know, they generally have 40 lots, 50 lots on a bigger one. So there's a lot to go at, and that's a lot of opportunities. And if you go across all the auctions, there's at least 100 opportunities every couple of weeks. So if you spread your bets, and ideally you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. Ideally, you've highlighted four or five deals that you can crunch the numbers on, and you can go to the auction and hopefully come away with one of them. So I love that. I love the speed. So it's usually 10 or 20 working days for a completion. Now, something the solicitors generally don't tell you is you can extend that by a couple of weeks without a penalty. Use it to your advantage as well. It's great to know that when you're buying something at the auction, if you're successful, within a couple of weeks you can have the keys. It's fantastic. You've got 2 weeks to sort out what you're doing, get your team ready, and get them in to strip it out. So speed, transparency, what else? Chance to get a bargain. Over to you. What do you love about the auction?
Yeah, so similar to what you're saying, just the fact that you're going, and when you pull, I can get sort of stuck in the analysis paralysis of weighing up the deals. So the auction forces you to make a decision one way or the other by a certain date, and then buy it or don't buy it. And that's what worked for me. I think, I basically spent sort of 12 months sort of dithering a bit over what my next sort of project was going to be. And then as soon as the deadline was there, the auction, I bought 2 within a month. So it's worked for me. We got good deals on both of them, and the opportunity to be able to make offers beforehand as well, and know that it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be in the room holding a paddle in the air. You can, they've said what their rough expectations are, and then you can negotiate around that all the way up until the day of the auction.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know you can do deals pre and post. There's a lot of people out there that their sole strategy is just focusing on stuff that doesn't sell in the room, because then you can usually find out the reserve price and offer accordingly. There's such a range of people that use the auction as their exit strategy now. We've got probate cases, divorce, people that need quick sales, people that need to move, repossessions, a lot of the We Buy Any Homes companies that snap property up fast. A lot of them use the auction to get rid of property. So there's such a mixed bag that there's plenty to go at. That's what I like.
So in terms of like, how many properties have you bought from auction over the last however many years?
Probably 15, 16, something like that.
And how many of them are sort of with a flip strategy, and how many to keep?
Most of them have been a flip strategy. I'm currently working on currently turning one into a HMO that you know about. That was from a London auction. Similar thing. Crack up the gable end, unmortgageable, needed to be sold via auction. I think it was a repossession, and it went through 2 London auctions, and then I pounced on it.
So if somebody walks in off the street and wants to be buying properties at auction, what is your sort of criteria list of like the things that you need to know or do before you can even consider buying?
Well, first of all, set your criteria. Don't just pick up a catalogue or do an auction search and start searching on everything that's available. You need to know what you can afford. You need to be looking at your budget. You need to be figuring out your finance. Ideally, you want that sorted before you start narrowing down properties.
Yeah, it's a very important point, isn't it, that you basically cannot use a classic mortgage to buy a property from auction. It's just not an option.
No, I've seen people try and fail, and it's a costly exercise. So yeah, a lot of people use cash. A lot of people use private finance. A lot of people use investor finance. A lot of people use bridging finance. A lot of people just get loans for the refurbs, for example. But whichever way you do it, just have an idea beforehand. Get your finance sorted out first, because you don't want to be panicking about your finance a couple of days before the auction. You need to be, finance first, due diligence, deal analysis second.
And so what are your best tips for going to a viewing?
Get there early. Ideally, 15, 20 minutes early. Talk to the nosy neighbours for a start. They normally know the inside leg. I try and build a picture and a story, and I like to try and get the history of why something's ended up in the auction, and then you can usually see how the problem has started, whatever that problem may be, as to why it's ended up in the auction.
Where are you finding out that information from? The auctioneer or the neighbours or the?
Just every single thing that you do whilst you're looking at a property, whether you're ringing the auction office and asking them as many questions as you can. Speak to the person that's there doing the viewing. Speak to the neighbours. If it's first or second viewing, you'll usually have some of the nosy neighbours want to have a look in the house because it's been that funny house on the street that all of a sudden is now in the auction. And you normally get too much information from the neighbours that you don't really want, to be honest. But use it all. See what other people are suggesting. You always get someone on a viewing that tries to make every single bit of work that needs doing look 10 times bigger or worse than what it actually is. Keep your eyes and ears peeled, but take some information with a pinch of salt. Check the full boundary of the property. Know what's yours and what isn't yours. Check the title plan, as well as the title register, which will be in the legal pack. All this is before we've actually started looking at the house.
They'll have block viewings usually, right? So you won't be able to appoint a range of viewing yourself. They'll say we're viewing it for this 25 minutes. On this date, and they're your options.
Yeah, that's normally the case. But if you want to pay for a surveyor to survey it for you, they can normally contact the auction house directly, go and get the keys, leave their ID, do the survey, bring it back.
And have you done that before yourself? Because if you don't know you're going to win it and you could be looking at 4 or 5 in any individual auction, then can get costly very quick, right?
Well, it could, yeah. And, it's like legal packs as well. I check the legal packs myself, but if you knew, solicitors offer a service where they can give a legal pack a once over for you, usually for about somewhere between £70 and £100. And yet again, if you were spreading your bets across 4 or 5 properties, that's a lot to look at. So maybe you go to that level of detail. I mean, the thing is, what I suggest is go yourself first of all. Try and go to 2 viewings if you're really keen, because you usually find something on the second viewing that you didn't find on the first viewing. If you're not experienced, take people with you on the viewings that are, whether it's a builder or someone that can, advise you on how little or how much needs doing. So going back to your question, the way I do a viewing, I start from the highest point on the house. It might be the chimney pot, it might be the roof ridge. Externally, I just literally work my way down, point in, chimneys, roof tiles, gutters, face of the property, cracks, movement, windows, just doing a really, really good thorough inspection. I take loads of pictures. One thing I would really recommend is, as well as getting a really good video of the house and highlighting all the problem areas like patches of damp and things like that, do a really good video of yourself as soon as you get in your car, because you'll be able to give the camera your first impression of what you thought, and you only get one opportunity to deliver that first impression. That's quite a powerful tool, I think. A good check sheet that you can fill out there and then.
Yeah, so you smash through your spreadsheet, figure out your numbers and decide that, these 3 properties all work as long as I can get them for the right price. So then you get to auction day. What's your routine?
On auction day, I'm one of them people that, yet again, get there early, stay relaxed, be calm, get your paddle, sit down or stand. I prefer to stand at the side in the middle so I can see everything. It's far too busy at the back of the room for me. You just end up being packed in like sardines. I don't put my hand up and bid if I don't need to. I'd rather just watch a property sail by than be the first guy to start bidding. Everyone's different. Don't ever use round numbers. I don't know. Imagine you're stretched at 100k and you don't want to pay more than 100k. Everyone will be thinking the same. Be the guy that pays
101.
101. Yeah. 101 250. Be that guy.
Yeah.
So don't use round numbers because other people naturally do. yeah, that's it really. Auction day. Stay calm, get there early, get a cup of tea. The auction team are there to help you. Don't be nervous. Don't bottle it. Have all your spreadsheets printed out. If you're one of these people that knows that you can get giddy or excited on the day, try and plan for it. Some people are really good at sticking to the numbers, but I've seen people go way above what they wanted to pay in the room. So maybe just have a 1 or 2% giddy buffer on top of your 100k. You're sort of being squeezed in a pre-planned way.
Yeah, like put down that I'd love to get it for this number, and the numbers work, but I wouldn't be mortified if I had to pay this number.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there's maybe a few grand difference there, or a few percent difference, depending on what kind of numbers you're talking, and you know, to just know that
just like you say, it depends on your strategy as well. If you're a long-term hold strategy, it can be a little bit more robust than a flip strategy, for example. Although in your flip strategy, you can sort of tweak your refurb a little bit, but you know, auctions have a really good way of finding the market value, and you only need 2 people to be interested to play the game.
Excellent.
Cheers, Stephen.